Hello, my name is Rich Howard, owner of Architectural Builder Supply. This video is to bring you a closer look at the Bommer number LB4350-400-639. This is a single acting spring hinge, full mortise, residential weight, lube bearing in a satin bronze plated finish. So let's go over that. First of all, LB, dissecting the part number, means lube bearing. It's a concealed, maintenance-free sort of bearing construction specific to Bommer. The 4350 is a reference to the physical properties and compatibility of the hinge itself. That means specifically that it's made for Peachtree brand doors and frames, which is going to be a reference to how the leaves are not the same size, and that it's an unusual size hinge as well, and the location of the screw holes. So for Peachtree, this hinge needs to be 4-inch tall and then 3 3/4 wide. And there is a link below this video to the template, which will show you everything important dimensionally about the hinge and specifically the location of these holes, so that you can use that template to compare it against your existing requirement to determine if this is the right and proper hinge for your application. 639 means two things. It means that it's it means it's steel based with a satin bronze finish, is what that means. It's a full mortise hinge. You can see from the swag on the hinge leaves there that when the leaves are brought parallel, they're meant to be mortised flush to the edge of the door and frame. And being a spring hinge, obviously it's intended to be a device to close the door. Below this video is a link to, below this video is an outline or guidelines in terms of how many spring hinges you need for a door. So what they're saying is generally up to a 3-foot by 7-foot door. 85-pound doors, they want 2 spring hinges along with your standard hinge, and that's okay because that existing Peachtree type hinge that you're going to have is compatible with the hinge with the vertical axis of pivoting, as it is compatible with a standard hinge. Okay, up to 110-pound doors, 3 spring hinges for sure. I'm a fan of all spring hinges, not for the obvious reason, but basically and solely because I've installed these hinges. I have maintained them through different seasons of the year, cold weather, warm weather, windows open, doors open in buildings, and I have found a significantly greater success rate when I have extra spring power on reserve. I liken that to a tugboat. They don't go very fast, but they can pull a lot of weight. And when you've got extra spring hinges, or all spring hinges, you have enough residual stored energy in the spring to get the door not only closed into the closed position, but latched. You need to get that door open. That spring hinge needs to get the door from a dead stop into the moving cycle, or the cycle of actually moving, overcome the resistance of air, but also overcome the friction of the latch bolt. So the latch bolt is going to give you some resistance as it hits the strike plate. So when you're underpowered in the spring hinge department, you don't really have the ability to get that door moving from a dead stop fast enough or with enough torque to get it to securely latch. What some people will end up doing is increasing the hinge, the tension on the spring so high just to get the door moving, so that there's some inertia happening to get it to get all the way closed and latch. The problem with that is it's an unreliable sort of method to get a door to latch. Seasons, I had mentioned earlier. In the summer, the windows are open and the back units or the back door is open and the door will just slam. In the winter, that's all closed, and then the hinge isn't set properly because you've backed it off from warmer weather settings. So I'm a fan of all spring hinges because you can reliably share the workload between all the spring hinges. Not to overtax any of them, but to get it closing with enough predictable tension in the springs to get it to really nicely latch. Spring hinges are a band-aid in my opinion, and they certainly serve a purpose where I prefer hydraulic control over doors. The truth of the matter is that's not always realistic to have a door closer on a door, and spring hinges have a very large position in the marketplace to fill, and they do a great job. However, they're only expected to do so much. Now, there is a link below this video to the installation instructions, and they're likely going to be printed on the back of the box that you'll get too. If you don't, well, then you can refer to them from going back to this item as well. The installation instructions are really straightforward and simple. You'll get all screws, wood screws and machine screws in a complementary finish. That's number one. So you're also going to get a package with a tension rod, and then a tension pin, which is that silver pin you see there. This order happens to have 2 hinges, so there's 2 of them in there. When you install this hinge, in the example where the tension collar is pointed up, you'll insert the tension rod into one of the holes and rotate that collar clockwise. And as you do so, you reveal new additional holes, and it's into one of those new holes that you insert a tension pin. You'll turn that clockwise when the tension collar is up. If you have to flip that over, you'll turn it counterclockwise. Okay? There's no direction of arrow on this, but it's clockwise when the tension collar is up. No more than 3 holes is what they recommend on these. You don't want to snap the spring that's in there, which rarely happens, but it does happen. It's irreparable at that point. That's how you set. If you had a 20-pound hollow core door, probably one of these is going to do the job for you, although I would really think 2 is appropriate. These will always occupy the top location first, then the middle. The bottom location last is what you're going to do. There's also a link to certifications and hinge selection guide. That's just a specification sort of outlook, review, I should say, on the hinge itself. And again, that template is there for your dimensional review. Bommer makes this available in several different finishes. Satin bronze, certainly not the most common finish available, but brasses, chromes, bronze, prime coat, zinc, black japanned, etc. The last item I'd like to point out to you is the Bommer logo. Right above it says Made in USA, a fact that Bommer is quite proud of, as am I to represent them. If you have any questions on the Bommer number LB4350-400-639 single acting spring hinge or any other Bommer product, please feel free to reach out to us.